The hustle and bustle of a busy market meets your senses as soon as you step into the square of the market at Broken Cart Way. The sounds of merchants calling out their wares is met by the laughter of children and the haggling of buyers. Travelers peruse goods or stand in the shade trading stories. The spring sun beats down pleasantly and the smells of fresh crops waft through the air. Welcome to the Modular DM, where I make dungeons, taverns, and anything else you might need to simply drop into your campaign. My goal is to create content that can fit into nearly any campaign or setting. I do all the hard work so that you busy or lazy or new DMs out there can have an easier time preparing for your next session or adventure. On today's episode of the Modular DM, we're visiting a generations-old market and diving into some of the different NPCs you may find selling their goods there. This is the market at Broken Cart Way. So you may be asking yourself, why is it called the market at Broken Cart Way? Well, during the founding of this city, a traveling merchant's cart broke a wheel as it passed through the open square that had been formed by the first few buildings. The early construction of the town. And having no money to repair his cart, and there being no skilled tradesmen nearby to have work on it, the merchant, whose name was Sandoval, decided to take it as a sign from his gods, and began selling his goods right there out of his overturned cart. With the help of the other town founders, Sandoval built a small home and returned to that town square every day to sell various goods. He even turned the shattered timbers of his original cart into merchant stalls, some of which can still be seen today. The tradition took hold, and now, many years later, the market at Broken Cart Way is an established place to buy supplies, meet travelers, and trade goods and treasures. As you can see, we're lining the buildings that make this square with merchants' carts, merchants' stalls. We have a couple of braziers in the middle of the square where travelers could convene, or in the winter where the merchants themselves can keep warm. For this video, we're going to go ahead and flesh out 5 different NPCs. The first is going to be Gusto Alovari. He's a broad-shouldered, white-feathered Aarakocra, and he occupies the merchant's stall in the northwestern corner of the market square. He speaks with a charismatic and friendly bravado, and wears flowing black pants and nothing but several leather tool straps and belts stripped back and forth across his chest and wrapped around his waist. If you look closer, you'll notice that those tools include scissors and needles, and you could come to the conclusion that he is a fantastic seamster and textile worker. We'll say that he learned his craft working on the great ships that sailed the seas in the east. He did things like repair sails and mend clothes, fashioning nets, and the like. At this point, he's taken up residence in the city here, and he's frankly considered a friend by residents and travelers alike. The next is going to be old Nez Pierce. Nez Pierce is a disheveled old man, and he spends his days in the corner of the square sitting atop an emptied barrel, leaning it against the wall behind his stall and smoking a tobacco pipe as he dozes away. Old Nez deals mostly in tobacco blends, but is happy to help travelers and townsfolk alike when they're in search of any specific herbs for potions or spells. Despite his slightly disheveled exterior, though, Nez Pierce is actually surprisingly sufficient in minor alchemy. So this allows him to imbue his tobacco blends or any other herbal mixtures that he's making for an adventurer or a townsperson with small magical effects. I think that you could have a lot of fun with this, with what you gave your players, so they could have things like they glow or their voice changes, something like that. Third is Tomas Parchen, who was once a bold adventurer, but his career was cut short when he lost his leg during a run-in with maybe an animated suit of armor or something along the lines of that. He decided he valued his life more than the call to adventure, so Tomas settled and began to sell the goods that he'd been working with for years. Traps and dungeoneering tools, ropes and pitons, anything that an adventurer really needs. He can be found set up in the opposite corner from Gusto, and still wears some of his old, worn-out armor. It makes him feel better despite his more mundane lifestyle. Up next is Benfir Aurensa Drone. Benfir is a brightly clad dark elf, musician and bard, and he deals in instruments. He crafts them, he trades them, he plays them. You can find him at the market during the day, but you can also find him playing his music in the town at night. Finally, we have Janane Redoku. Janane is the town's protector and smith. She trained as a blade of the king, and she's absolutely unstoppable with her rapier, and formidable at the very least with nearly every other type of weapon. Her small forge is actually one of the few entirely permanent fixtures in the market. Not only can she work steel into weaponry, but since the blades of the king were primarily formed to combat a lichen plague werewolves, she also specializes in working precious metals, and can make anything from jewelry to silver-tipped arrows. And of course, on any given day, the rest of the carts and stalls are going to be filled with other farmers and ranchers and even travelers selling their wares. But these 5 are the 5 that can be found on any day in the market at Broken Cart Way. Among those others, on rare occasions, is Arapet, who we've discussed in the past. I would like to thank you all again for coming to my channel and watching the video. Very happy to have you. I would love to hear your experience using this in your campaign. Again, check out the Reddit, check out the rest of the channel, and hopefully we'll see you all next time. Thanks.